In a database, you can have n number of rows and n number of columns as per your requirement or based on the application. Database is nothing but a collection of data in the form of table. Table is made up of number of rows and number of columns. Another name of table is a relation. This 1, 2, 3 is a domain. And again, if you consider this column or this attribute, this name and as well as age, these are the values. It forms one domain. Dear students, welcome to CS classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in computer science, Vidhyaashram PU College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Students, let us continue our discussion of the topic database concept in this session. So, in this session, we are going to discuss about the topics, concept, database terms, DBMS, and features of DBMS. Students, the definition of database, say it is a collection of records in the form of table. So, what is a table? Table is made up of number of rows as well as number of columns. So, this is how the database, we can visualize a database or the database or data stored in the form of table. Now, we know what is a table. Table is nothing but it is made up of number of rows and also these are all the number of columns. And here you can make out there are number of rows and you can have number of columns. So, in a database, you can have n number of rows and n number of columns as per your requirement or based on the application. Now, look at this here, EMP-ID. This is one of the column here, name, age, salary. And these are the values, 1, 2, 3 are the employee ID, name, the different employee's name, and age and salary. These are nothing but different values or records. And here, if you look at this table here, name of the table is employee. This is the name of the table. And here, these are different columns. EMP-ID, name, age, and salary. These are all different columns. And these columns are called attributes. Another name of columns is called attributes. So, in this example, there are 4 columns, there are 4 attributes in this table. Now, here the entire row, here 1, this is the employee ID, name, age and the salary. This a complete one row is called as a record. So, it is called as a record. Another name is tuple. So, this is nothing but one record. Another name of tuple is record. So, this your table is made of a number of rows and each row forms a one record or another name is tuple. And this is table. Now, in this example, now look at this domain. Now, if you look at what is a domain here, now look at the values of one particular column. See, the values or the data of a one particular column is called a domain. So, if you look at the diagram here, we can make out the different definition of database. One is table. Table is made up of number of rows and number of columns. And another name of column is called attributes. And these rows is called a record or a tuple. And this is domain, means the value of any particular column is called a domain. So, in a database, the data or information stored in the form of a table and that too each row is referred as one record. Example like a student database. In any education institution, if we talk about a student database, if there are 500 students in any of the college, so it requires 500 rows to store all the details. So, it forms a 500 records in that particular database. And you can have n number of rows, nothing but n number of records as well as n number of columns like this. It depends on your application. So, these are the different terms. Now, let us see the definition of all this again. So, first one is called a file. What is a file? As we have seen in our previous lessons or previous chapter, It is a basic unit of storage in computer system. And the file is large collection of related data. So what is a file? It is nothing but the unit of storage, basic unit of storage in computers or in computer memory, and generally it consists of related data, or it's a collection of data. As we know that everything in the computer is in the form of file. It can be different types of file. So that is the definition of a file. Next one is database. What is a database? As we have learned the definition in our previous session, it is a collection of logically related data organized in a way that can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. So this is the definition of database. So data we are storing in one location in the database, and it should be easily accessed by the users or the clients, and you should have an option for managing the database as well as updating the database. Next one is called table. What is a table? In a relational database, there's another type of database called relational database. So a table is a collection of data elements organized in terms of rows and columns. As we have seen in the previous example, a table is made up of number of rows and columns. So in relational database, all elements or data are stored in terms of rows and columns. So table is the most simplest form of data storage. It is also called as relation. Another name of table is relation. So database is nothing but a collection of data in the form of table. Table is made up of number of rows and number of columns. Another name of table is a relation. Now let us move on to next slide. Now let us see other technical terms. Records. What is a record? A record, a single entry in a table is called a record, or it is a row. A record in a table represents set of related data. Records are also called as tuples. So this is what you have seen in our previous slide. So here record is nothing but it is the place where we can store a data. So in the previous diagram, if you look into that, this is one row is information of one particular employee in this example. So this is one record. This is one record. So that is the definition of a record here. And it is another name of record is tuple. Next one is tuple. Each row of a table is called a record, and it is nothing but a tuple. And what are fields? Each column is identified by a distinct header called attribute or field. Now, if you look at the previous example, employee ID, name, age, salary. Now, if you look at this diagram here, in the table here, this is a field. Employee ID is one field, name is another field, age and salaries are two different fields, and these are distinct or unique, and both the values, both columns should not have the same header. So these are nothing but the column. So another name of column is attribute. So that is the definition of fields. Now domain. What is a domain? A set of values for an attribute in that particular column. So the values of a particular attribute in that column are called domain. Now let us see this here in the previous example. In the table, see this 1, 2, 3 is a domain. And again, if you consider this column or this attribute, this name and as well as age, these are the values. It forms one domain. So this is the definition of the domain. Next one is entity. What is an entity? It is an object of real world and such as table, employee. And here table is nothing but an object. So because all information are stored in the form of in a database in the form of table, so it is an object, and here we can store different types of data. That is an entity. Now let us move on to next slide. Next concept is database management system. So far till the last slide we have learned the definition of database. Now this is database management system, we refer as DBMS. This is we refer as DBMS. So this is database management system. Now we have learned what is database. So this is a place where we can store a data of or different types of data depends on the application. Now what is DBMS or database management system? It is a software. So it is a software which helps the user to perform operation such as creating, storing, retrieving, modifying, and data of a database. So what is the meaning of DBMS? It is a software. So this is a software used to work with database. Here there are two different concepts. One is database and database management system. So database is a place where we can store different forms of data or different types of data, and database management system is a software. So we are using DBMS software to work with the data or work with a database. So if I say work with database, we can have different types of operations or works. One is creating, storing the data, retrieving, modifying, and of different data in a database. So this is the definition of DBMS. Now, it is actually a tool used to perform any kind of operation on data in a database. So if I say any form of operations on database, what we generally do is, one is we can add one more record to it, or we can delete a record, or we can delete one particular column or attribute, or we can update the values in a table. All these are nothing but different operations can be performed on database. That is a software we're using for the same purpose. And some examples are MySQL, Oracle, MS Access, and DB2. These are all different software or different DBMS software used to work with database. So this is DBMS. Our next one is, now let us see what are the features or advantages of DBMS, means database management system. So here first one is centralized data management. Centralized data management. Here before we look at the features, I would like to say the example of a supermarket. Now please visualize or analyze the example of a supermarket, then we can understand this point very easily. So I can take an example of supermarket. So here centralized data management. Now if you take an example of a supermarket, whenever you go for billing counter, so in any organization, they will be having only one database software. So even though there are number of employees and all the employees, all the workers, they will make use of only one database that is stored centrally, or it will be in one place. And through that database or others, we say the user use the same database, and all the data pertaining to a particular department, particular shop, particular store will be recorded or stored in one location, in one computer, or in one database. So that is the meaning of centralized data management. If you take any supermarket, any items are coming in, so it will be recorded in a database, stored in one place. And every day there are so many transactions, many items are going out of the supermarket. All these, the stocks, inventory, everything is recorded at only one location, at one place, that is in one database. So that is the meaning of centralized data management system. That is one point of, or one of the features of database management system. Second one is controlled data redundancy. See, what is the meaning of redundancy? This is duplication, or it avoids duplication of data. For example, if you take an example in the supermarket, so all the items are unique and it cannot be repeated number of times. Or if you take an example, student database in any institution or in a college, so here each and every student's data or information are unique, pertaining to only one student. So there is no question of duplication of the entry in a database, and that can be avoided in DBMS, that is data redundancy. It can be avoided, means data replication or data duplications will be avoided. Next one is enforcing data integrity. What is data integrity? Here, if you take an example of a student database. In a student database, we have so many columns, so many attributes, for a student name, marks, and so on. So in particular column, for example of a student marks, so we have to enter a one student marks in one subject, for example physics. So in the physics column, in particular column, particular field, we have to enter values between 0 to 100. Normally the marks of a student between 0 to 100, and we are not supposed to enter greater than or 100. So in case by mistake or by oversight, if we try to enter any values between 0 and 100, it accepts it. If other than this value, if we enter it, for example 120, so that particular field or the value cannot be accepted by the database management system or database. That is nothing but enforcing data integrity, nothing but accuracy of the data. So even for any student marks, it can be negative. Suppose if I try to enter -10 or -20 in that particular column or in that particular field, so the particular database will reject it or it will not accept it. That is the meaning of enforcing data integrity, means accuracy of the data. Next one is called data sharing. So very good example is, again, you imagine example of a supermarket. So what is the meaning of data sharing? See, as I told you just now, in any organization where there you may find only one database for entire unit or organization. So there is no scenario where you can have n number of database for n number of employees. So that cannot be a good scenario. So generally, there will be only one database, and as we have seen as the first point, it is centrally maintained. So all the data pertaining to supermarket regarding items for sales, as purchase, whatever it is, it will be in only one location, and the same data is shared by different people. Very good example is, in any supermarket, you can find number of billing counters. There may be around 10 billing counters. So all 10 billing counters, the particular billing executive, only he will share the same data or same database available in that particular unit. So that is the meaning of our example for data sharing. Here all 10 billing counters, they will share the same software, though irrespective of number of clients or number of items sold or purchased by the users. So that is very good example for data sharing. Next one is ease of application development. And here this DBMS, it allow the software programmers or developers, or it has DBMS has a feature, it helps the developers or software programmer to develop the database for any particular application easily. That is the ease of application development. Next one is data security. So it ensures that only means access to database is through authorized channel only. So means a type of data security. So if you take same example of supermarket, as I told you just now, all billing employees or billing counter, the person at the billing counter, he will has the access to the database. Only he can access the database, and he has not been given the rights to change the values in the data. He cannot change anything in the database or any items or name of the item, the rate of the item or price of the items. Only you can use it for billing purpose. That is a security. And if at all anything has to be done, it has to be through authorized channel or through a particular permission or through a particular person. So with the privileges, one can make use of this data security features. So it provides a good security with respect to accessing the database by different users. So this is another advantages of database management system. Next one is multiple user interface. So what is the meaning of multiple user interface? Nowadays we are familiar with the mobile system, desktop PC, laptop, or even maybe notebook computer. Nowadays you might have come across some examples. You can access different types of applications or database through different system. If you want to use any of this, I can give example like you take an sales or online e-commerce business. In e-commerce, if you want to get into any of the website, if you go for any of the shopping through Amazon, for example, so you can access this Amazon website or the database through different devices. If I say devices, maybe through your PC at home, or personal computer at home, or you may be having a laptop, you can access through laptop, or your mobile, that is also possible. Or if you have a notebook computer, it is also possible to access those particular database of Amazon, for example, through different devices. So that is the meaning of different interfaces. So the database management system, or all these are developed in such a way that so it can be accessible by different interface or through different interfaces like a desktop PC or PC, laptop, notebook or mobile devices. That is the meaning of multiple user interface. Next one is backup and recovery. See, what is backup and recovery? See, backup is a general term we use in the field of computer science, that is to store the day-to-day activities in particular location. Any organizations, all the activities has to be stored at the end of the day at particular location through secondary memory devices in the form of CD, DVD, hard disk and so on. That is the meaning of backup, and it provides a DBMS, it provides a tools or it provides the features, so it helps us to take the backup easily. That is the meaning of the backup. And recovery. Suppose if anything goes wrong in our transaction, so that can be recovered or that can be balanced or that can be corrected easily. Very good example for this is, I can give you, suppose if you are going for any online transaction through a mobile, or very good example is if you want to transfer any money through your UPI payment like Paytm, PhonePe or Google Pay and so on. So while transferring in between, if at all any problem with the system, for example, your mobile, or you may not get a signal from your mobile devices, or you may not have a proper data connectivity or internet connectivity. During that process, your transaction may not be successful. Then you will get a message immediately, so transaction is unsuccessful. But by that time, what happens? Some amount may be deducted from your account. So after you notice it, maybe after a few minutes or maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, depends on the software, the same amount will be reversed in your account or it will be credited to your account back. That is the meaning of recovery. So any transaction done or any problem with the particular transaction, those transactions can be corrected or it will be corrected within a particular time or within a stipulated time through this DBMS software or system. So this is another advantage of this DBMS, database management system. Students, in this session we have learned another term, that is different technical terms of database management system or database, and also the features of database management system. Now let us continue our discussion in my next session. Thank you so much.